Good morning, Super Coaches. We are in here for round 18, the buy, hold, sell. And a lot of people will probably be in a lesser trade situation than myself. So there's a little bit of a strategy, thoughts you need to go through. If you're in my situation at 18, you're probably closer to just launching on those marginal upgrades. Obviously, as I said in previous ones, I have 21 trades that I could use, right? If I had the full amount, if I maxed every week. So I'm very, very close to that right now. And looking at my situation this week, there's obviously a few things I can do. And if you're sitting at 13 or 14, then maybe at this point, it's just making those big upgrades. Like I'm sitting here in my situation now with Sammy Walker, who is in an interesting spot, obviously, for him. He got his 172 against the Dragons this year. And then a couple of years ago in 2022, he got 138 as well against them. So pretty interesting how that one played out. Exact same ground at Allianz that they're going to be playing it this week, that he got the 172. So looking at him to even Nicho Hynes, is that a bit of a luxury sort of trade this week and I can wait till next week? Nicho has a chance to go down in price. That's obviously a very minor factor given he's got not a 200 break even like he had last week. But Sammy could go nuts as well, being a goal kicker in a really, really good side in the Roosters, although Dragons played well last week for sure. Just something to note that if you're sitting in a lower trade situation, you might have to hold on those certain trades. Let's go up to the hooking position, and it's more around the Harry Grant situation. So, do you want to trade him out? And I'm seeing a lot of teams, obviously, in a situation like this, where I think if you had Harry Grant and Jayden Brailey, you clearly hold. If you have Harry Grant and Joey Lussick, it is also an interesting one. If you've got no one that's a clear sort of AE risk, in terms of that being, someone that's a chance to score 10 to 15, and play sort of 10 minutes off the bench like a Joe Chan or something like that, then probably make the trade. If you don't have someone like that and, it's someone like a Smithies, a Hughes, a Willison, Kaipi's Paul if you end up on the bench, Strange, these types of players, if they're your worst players or lowest potential scoring players, I think holding this week and just taking the AE could be pretty cool. And that just allows you to play a vice captaincy loophole for anything sort of 75 plus, I think anyway, because you're automatically going to get that lower score, and you just put the captaincy on one of your hookers that was out, like if they're both out in Joey or obviously Harry Grant here. So that's something to note. If you were to be making a trade though, which one would you pick? That's the question. And you've got, I think Connor Watson's probably the best pick. You could also go for Cook. You could go for Little. Two guys obviously playing round 13. Blake Brailey, just a bit too hit and miss for me at this point. So yeah, Cook and Little play round 19. Watson doesn't. So if you're not too worried about round 19 and a number, I think go Watson. He has the best opportunity to average close to that 70 mark, which he's got an 82 5-round average, which is incredible. So does Damien Cook, an 89.8 5-round and a 3-round average of 89 as well. So he's been awesome, scoring lots of tries. Whichever one of those two I think you want to go for, sweet. Little has a tougher little run of games. No pun intended. He has basically all the top 4 in the next month with a buy in there as well. So keep that in mind with him. That's the 3 I would be looking to target. You obviously got Appy there, like I do, 649k, a bit too up and down for my liking. Comes up against a harder team here in Melbourne. He obviously plays all the games as well, but he has some worries, and he's obviously got that big price rise. And then probably the only other guy you might want to look at is that of Tommy Starling there, who picked up a 52 last week and keeps the start this week. I think he's a really solid one to look at as well at the cheaper price. For the front row forward, it's such a tough position to even look at potentially making moves in. Mitch Barnett has been absolutely killer in recent history. So 702k has got him right up there now. If you're sitting there with AFB, he's obviously dropped a decent amount in cash. But if you're looking at straight averages, Payne Haas over the next few weeks is going to be good. But Adam Fanua-Blake is 602 now. I personally will be looking to purchase him as an upgrade in round 20 or 21. He's someone I'm going to want on the way home. So, if you're looking at potentially selling him, I think that's a mistake this week. You could still look at guys like Stefano. A massive week from Max King with 82 with all those runs. But Stefano obviously plays round 19. If you're looking at someone like that, then he's obviously higher on that list. Samuel Afenu, not as high of a game from him last week. So that was slightly annoying. Xavier Willison at 408k is obviously a solid price. So he was last week before that 77 if you wanted someone for that. But I don't think front row forward is a position you want to be pushing to target those types of guys, especially when, if you're looking at my situation, I've got Willison who's going to play around 19, but May, Curran, and Hughes are all going to be numbers for me in round 20 if I need it. So I think if you're trading for a front row forward, is it a position you really want to use a trade on? And is it going to be worth it, being able to get a big score? And I think someone like Adam Fanua-Blake in round 20 is a good one to look at. And outside of that, there's no one really of note that you'd want in your side unless you went for a nuff, so a cheap guy that's not going to play. So that's my thoughts on the front row forward position. 2RF, the second row, is a very, very different. Obviously, Fifita's an interesting one. If you don't have him yet, I think wait until we find out about Origin. If he doesn't make Origin, pick him next week. Very clearly, they've got no buys for the rest of the year. And then we'll be fighting for a spot to get closer up to that 8, right? So I don't think anyone's going to be getting held back or getting rested. You got both Fermor and Katoa in there as well. Both really solid. Obviously, Bowie plays round 19, but he's at a price I think he can do a little bit better, like guys with a bit more upside, like Britton Nikora. What about Beau Fermor getting the centre wing tag? Pretty cool at that one for sure. So he's someone that I can actually switch between with Beau Fermor and Euan Aitken across the weeks. So that'll be pretty fun. That's for sure there on that one. But the second row forward for me at the moment with Smithies, Kaipis, Paul, Plath, not super exciting, obviously, and it's a position I will likely be improving over the next few weeks. And there's a few guys on that list for sure that you might want to be having a look at in that 2RF position. So average based, you've got Dave Fifita as the clear top dog. Crichton next to 77. He's had so many attacking stats, which has been awesome, but I had a low one this week, and he'll lose some cash over the next few, so he'll be a bit cheaper, which will be good. Hamoli Olakau'atu is a big one on this list. I think you might want to target. He could go this week, but I do think waiting until round 20 or 21 can easily be the play, but he could do well against the Cowboys for sure. Isaiah Yeo post Origin as well is at a reasonable price now, $650. Connor Watson, as we say, can switch between the two. So if you're looking at top tier guns in this position, McInnes had a cracker last game, but Keon Kolomatangi, $678, still really solid. Britton Nikora at $638. Cartwright at $599, and then you've got guys like Madison at $460. If you needed to go a bit cheaper of a guy that's going to play in round 19 and is starting this week, then he's a guy on that list as well. So 2RF, it's a wild one at the moment because there's only 5 guys that are 70 and above, and 3 of them are in Origin. 1 might be in Origin, and the other one's in a little bit of a form slump and losing some cash at the moment, averaging 65 now over the last 3. So there's a few of them that will be buys, but it'll be post round 19. So 2RF at the moment, I think you just hold steady, keep things ticking over, keep things together with a couple of guns, and then some mid-range guys like Beau Fermor, Plath, Kaipis, Paul, these types of players that can do a job for you on any given week, and then look to upgrade to 1 or 2 of those top guys post the buys, because Fifita and Crichton are the clear standouts, and Katoa, Isaiah Yeo really solid. He's not going to have those like extravagant 120 type of games. So keep an eye on the 2RF going forward. For the halves there, Hughes is still a very top tier option. He's obviously averaging 78.7, the second best for the year so far, and Nicho Hynes is at 80.2. So we had a couple of massive weeks for Nicho. I do think this will be a bounce back game for him. And that's kind of my conundrum at the moment with these types of trades and what I might be looking to do personally and potentially holding on to Walker. I think in any other situation, unless you have like a Mitch Moses along with Hughes, you're probably holding that one. Obviously this week, after the 103, Moses killing it. Outside of that scenario, I do think you make the trade up to Hynes. That's probably the only thing we need to think about in this position. Obviously, Cleary is someone longer term you might want to have a look at as well if he gets back to good health and playing good footy. Johnson, you want to move on from. Walker, you probably just want to have in the 5/8 position. Galvin and Brown, if you're sitting in that position, I think they're holds as well because there's no real clear standout in the 5/8 spot as well. Jaden Campbell's injured this week. Tamati Martin doing good things, but do you buy him at 700k? Probably not. Jerome Luai killing it, so he's an easy hold as well. And outside of that, and Wishart, 1 more week at least for him before you move on from him as well. So it feels like a holding pattern unless you have got a couple of those players in the position. You could trade the other guys, but otherwise they're just clear holds, I think, in my opinion. In the center wing, so Strange is someone I'll be looking to trade out this week. I think Greg Marzu is on my list very, very clearly. But the top average guys in the center wing, there are a lot of them. There's 8 that are 70 and above, which is really, really helpful. One of them is actually Braden Burns, and the 4 games that he's played, he's been killer. So let's just take him out of it and make it 7. It's a very, 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 very strong position that you want to trade for. So Manu's out for a little bit. To'o's in Origin. Karaz is not, but he misses next week. Holmes misses next week. Young misses next week. Same with Lomax. So none of the top 7 centre wings are actually going to be playing next week, which is a little bit hurtful. And then you go to the next list. It's Garrick and Asako, the two next biggest average guys that are going to be available in round 19. James Schiller's even on the list. So centre wing as well is not a very high upside position coming into round 19. So that's where I look at, if you're not getting Hines this week, then next week, definitely round 19 is the week you have to get him. And that, if I don't get him this week, that's my plan for Walker. And then 2RF, if Fafita plays, he's going to be the big standout guy. Front row forward, there's not really anyone. Hookers, there's a few, but they're not going to, likely aren't going to make or break your week. And then the wing fullback now. That's going to be the big one here. So everyone in my centre wing is a hold outside of Strange. I think he's going to go to Marzu. You've got a few other sort of cheaper options, which I'll bring them up here just quickly before we move on. Players I can afford. There's 154, which is still really solid. And I should just say, filter that as well to plays in round 19. All right, 93 of those. So Ronaldo, 469, obviously went down a little bit of cash as well. He's a very interesting one for sure to look at. Will Price at 345 is solid. You got Tolu Kola as well with his lowly average, surprisingly, how that one's ended up. Did I go past him? No, I didn't. He's averaging 46 for the year, which is crazy at 434K. He's an interesting one to grab this week, but I do think it might be a little bit of a rental on Tommy Turbo's fullback position there for sure. But yeah, Greg at 505K, still averaging 50, just under 53 for the year now after that big score. And with Ponga back, and looks like Best is doing great things. He's got his mojo and is doing good work. But Beaufort Moore at 557, if that's a price that you can get to, I still think he's really solid. Does move out to the centres sometimes and obviously plays the rest of it in the back row, but 57.6 is his average, and it's a pretty good spot there. Jesse Ramian, Ronaldo, all of those Sharks guys have a really good run coming up. So have a look at them for sure. Ramian's at a bit of a higher price, and Ronaldo's at 469, which is super cheap. So yeah, centre wing is probably more about those mid-price guys at the moment. And then our fullback position. So we have Tommy Turbo coming back. We also have Ponga returning, Jaden Campbell next week. So a lot of good scorers for this position. If you're holding on to Trey Fuller, you'll have him next week as well. Fletcher Sharp's an annoying one. I think hold on this week and then make some decisions either next week or into round 20, 21. You've got Latrell. You'll have Ponga there in 20. You'll have, a lot of the guns, basically. Reece Walsh will come back and be playing good footy. Hammer was doing good things, obviously, before injury as well. So hopefully he's good to go. I think you wait on that decision with that fullback position because there's so many top-tier guns in there, and you'll want to, I'll probably be playing a little bit of fullback roulette across that time as well. And I wonder how long Drinkwater's going to stick in my side for sure. Like, Drinky next week could be someone that gets moved on, but the big question here is who for? Whether it's a gun center, gun center wing, a gun to RF, I'll make that decision coming into next week, and that's the good thing about having trades. And you need to think about where you're at with the trades and what you're going to be doing with them going forward. So I hope this one helped you a little bit of strategy, a little bit of your trade thoughts, and we'll catch you in the next fantasy video. See you, team.